Yes, the title that you read is correct. Today, we're going to be talking about Bestie Sarah's favorite reads. If you guys don't know Sarah on YouTube, she is so amazing, so sweet. I love her so much. She's my bestie here on YouTube, but I'm sure all of you here are subscribed if you're here. I was like, you know, everyone does a series where they read a YouTuber's 5-star reads, and I was like, you know what I want to do? I want to start a series on my channel, and I want to message different booktubers and just ask them what their top 10 favorite books are of all time. I wanted to read the books and see what I thought of them and see like how our taste line, and these are all people that I trust with their recommendations. It's more of I want to kind of see inside of their mind. No, that sounds weird. Like see books that they really love and like look for why, and you know, read different books from them and their different tastes. That is what we are going to talk about today's video. I have read all, I think there's like 11. I think there's 11 books here. I asked Sarah for her top 10, and so we are going to talk about them. So when Sarah told me her top 10 favorite books, I had read, I think, all but 4 of them. I think it was Rock, Paper, Scissors, If He Had Been With Me, Mary Jane, and Heart of the Raven Prince. I think that those 4 were the only books that I hadn't read. So I went and I read those throughout the past few weeks so we can sit down and talk about this video. So I'm just going to go through this list as she said it to me. Now she specified that this is not in any order of how much she loves these books over the others. She was just giving me a list. These are just how she said them to me, and that's how we're gonna go through them. But the very first book that we're talking about is If He Had Been With Me. Now funny enough, I actually just finished this book last night per obviously this video, and I posted about it on my story and how this book absolutely soul crushed me to no end. Wow, I had always seen this book like going around. I've actually had this book sitting on my like physical TBR for months now. I got it for the reading sad books video that I filmed like all the way in May. One night before I even asked Sarah for her books for this video, she texts me. She's like, have you ever read If He Had Been With Me? And I was like, oh, not yet. I have the book. She's like, you literally have to read it. So then it was already on my radar, and that's kind of when I thought up this video. I read it last night. I gave this a 4.25 stars. I know every time I rate something a 4.25 or 4.75, I feel so annoying, but like it just feels right. Do you see this? It's literally my heart. It takes place during high school. This is a young adult book, and the thing about this book is that I just felt like this was one of the more realistic forms of high school that I have seen. I think that high school is different for much of everybody. This was like so incredibly realistic, but I actually really enjoyed that because a lot of times when you read books and they talk about high school, it's like so over exaggerated that you cannot even fathom that these authors have ever stepped foot inside of a high school. Also, the story between the two characters, there's so many different characters that surround the whole entire story. It's told from one person's point of view, but you follow these characters throughout their high school, and you see glimpses of them when they were younger, and you really get to know these people and really see them grow. So it's kind of like a coming of age with a little subplot of romance. Now the ending of this book absolutely destroyed me. I wanted it to change so desperately because you learn at the beginning what happens. I'm not going to say what happens, but you learn at the beginning what happens, and then you just want the ending to change so bad, and it just literally made me cry, and I just looked at a wall for a little bit, but I still loved it. So Sarah, you will be getting my therapy bill for this month, but it's okay. Also, funny enough, the next book is also a book that I just read yesterday, which is Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. Now I will say, when I first started getting like heavily back into reading, I don't know if it was because the side of book talk that I was on, I read a lot of thrillers and really liked thrillers. I feel that I am somebody that guesses plot twists very easily because I kind of overanalyze everything in my life. So I will overanalyze basically everything in a book, which I know is annoying. I've seen Sarah talk so much about Rock, Paper, Scissors and how now she loves Alice Feeney's books. I was like, okay, when I'm in the mood for a thriller, I will want to read this. When I tell you guys, I rated this a 5 stars. No thriller has done this to me since The Silent Patient, which some of you may be rolling your eyes, but Silent Patient did get me with that plot twist. I didn't guess it at all. And it's the same with this one. I literally, the whole entire time that I was reading the book, I thought I had it. Actually, there is one like little twist that I actually did guess, like, but it wasn't like, I mean, it kind of was a bigger part, but it was kind of like a piece of the puzzle for the big twist that I did guess. I was thinking like I had the big plot twist down, like I was like, oh yeah, I know what's going on. I was insanely wrong, and then when you get the big plot twist, more little twists start coming, and I was just flipping through the pages like, oh my god, what's going to happen next? And that is exactly what I need from a thriller. I feel like that's why I'm very, very picky about thrillers, is because if I don't get that feeling, then I don't want to read it. If I don't feel like, oh my god, I literally, like, I have to keep reading to find out what's going to happen. It is exactly how I felt with this book. Every single chapter ended in a way, not like a cliffhanger, but ended in a way where it kept you hooked. A lot of them did end in cliffhangers. Every single chapter and the writing in it was just so, not complex, but it was so diverse. I haven't read writing like this, and I was reading every little thing. I didn't want to miss a single detail. It was so, so good. So rock, paper, scissors, 5 stars, Sarah. This is great. Next up, I have Mary Jane. Now, I have talked about this book. I did rate this 4 stars. I talked about it in both my 24-hour readathon and my wrap-up for the month. Did oh my god, last month, there's another book that I read last month that I don't think that I put in my wrap-up for last month. I'm a literal idiot. Going on with this video, so Mary Jane, I rated this a 4 stars. I talked about it last month, so I'm not going to spend too much time on here about it. This book was a 4 stars. Again, with the coming of age story, this is more of a literary fiction, so you're following Mary Jane, and it takes place in the 70s, and she is this very, like, I would say, goody two-shoes. She goes to church all the time with her mom. She sings in the church choir. Her parents' household is more of a strict household. And then she gets this job over the summer to babysit for a family, and then that family is a complete 180 from what her family is. It's the 70s. You're learning about a bunch of different things during this time, and I absolutely loved this. I think that I love literary fictions that are coming of age because I just love to see being educated on a bunch of different things, just that feeling, and it kind of takes me back, I feel, to that feeling of being that age, even if it wasn't in that time period, but things that you realize that you learned as a teenager and things that you know now that you didn't know then, and kind of reading it. I really, really, really loved this book. It was a great literary fiction. If you were into it, I would definitely recommend that you guys pick this up. Of course, I know that all of you know that this is on this list if you know Sara, and that is, of course, Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren, and this is actually one of my 5-star reads. It is a childhood friends to lovers trope, which I am in love with. That is literally like one of my favorite tropes ever. Elliot and Macy always hold a special, special place in my heart. I think it's well known that Sara loves this book. The characters, the writing, everything that Christina Lauren did with this book. Obviously, it took like the world by storm. Everyone knows Love in Other Words, and this is actually one of my 5-star reads. So, well done, Sara. The next book that we have is actually a book that I read this year because of Sara, and that is Darling Venom. She actually, I'm pretty sure she sent me this. Yes, she sent me this. I read it because I know that I had watched her video. This was like early on into the year, and that she had loved it, so I could not wait to read it. And this was actually a 4.5 stars for me. I absolutely loved this book. I am a person who likes to read about mental health representation in books. This is a book that I do feel handles sensitivity to mental health and the importance of mental health very, very well, and the after effects of certain things that mental health can do to people. I really, really appreciated that front, but also it is a beautiful story of friendship, of falling in love, of people changing, of growth. I did really, really love this story. I feel like this has something for everybody in it, and it was so, so good. It actually was one of my favorites of the year. The next book that I read is Heart of the Raven Prince. This was a Cinderella retelling, and I definitely got that aspect. I rated this a 3.5 stars. I really liked it. It was very entertaining. I loved the aspect of the Cinderella retelling and how they did it with this, and I think the only thing that like kind of threw me off was that I feel like there are YA fantasies like The Cruel Prince or The Throne of Glass, or even the Shadow Me series, where it doesn't necessarily feel very YA to me. Like, it doesn't feel like the writing is kind of more immature or anything like that. This is kind of where I felt more of the YA aspect of it. Not that that is a bad thing, but sometimes that can just kind of, like, the writing sometimes can get me lost a little bit, and I feel like that's what happened in this book, but I still really, really enjoyed it. It was a 3.5 stars. Next we have Crooked Kingdom, which is a part of the Six of Crows duology. It's actually the second book, so the first book is Six of Crows, the second book is Crooked Kingdom, and I actually have this rated as a 4.75 stars. It was so close to a 5 stars, so close, and I love this duology, but Sara is a stand for this duology, and she is actually what motivated me months ago to finish the Shadow and Bone series, and then so I could get to Six of Crows, and just so I could see like why she loved it so much. And let me tell you guys, I completely 100% understand. I absolutely love the crows. I loved the storyline of this book. book. I had such a freaking good time reading these books. I was so intrigued. I love the characters, I love the story, and I am really hoping that Leigh Bardugo drops another book with these characters because I need to see more of Kaz. Anyway, next book that we're gonna be talking about is this series by St. Abby. Now, she was like, I don't know if this counts as one book, but I'm gonna say it's one book. Back when I read this book, I was still rating books kind of like all on one scale, and you guys may be like, what are you talking about? You don't rate books all on one scale? Not anymore. I kind of rate dark romances on a different scale than all of my regular books, just like how I rate memoirs differently than all of my other books. Like, there are just some books that I feel belong on a different scale, because with dark romances, they're never going to be your regular run-of-the-mill book. So I don't feel like it is fair for me to take like how I would rate The Soulmate Equation and rate it on the same scale as a dark romance that is like the complete opposite. So I do rate dark romances now on like a different scale than I do a regular one, because I rate it on what I think of it as a dark romance and as what I like out of a dark romance, what that rating lies with for me. Back when I first read this, I rated like all of the books like around a 2.5 to 3 stars. If I am going to rate this on my dark romance scale, I am rating this a 4. I love a strong female character, which is exactly what this series is. But as I have sat and thought on it, I have learned to appreciate it more and more and more. Is it one of my favorite things that I have ever read? No, there are a bunch of different dark romances that I do enjoy more than this one. I was entertained like the whole entire time that I read it, but it wasn't like the best thing since sliced bread or whatever that metaphor is. Next, we have Kiss the Sky, which is a part of the Calloway Sister series. This is actually the first book in the Calloway Sister series. This book follows Rose and Connor. I think this was a 4 stars. I actually loved this book, believe it or not for Connor and Rose, for them, but not just for them. It was because in every single book, whether it is the Addicted series, whether it is the Calloway Sister series, you are getting that couple's point of view. So like, in the Addicted series, you're just getting Lily and Lo's point of view. In the Calloway Sister series, it depends on whose book it is. You are getting either Reich and Daisy's point of view or Rose and Connor's point of view, which is what you get in this book. But you see all of the characters, and all of the characters are very prominent in every single book in the series. I remember reading Kiss the Sky and loving it for Rose and Connor, but also loving it because of how much I got to see of Lily and Lo. I mean, it is a no-brainer that I love this series, that I love these books. I've talked about how much the Addicted Calloway Sister series means to me. I literally love it so much, so obviously it's a no-brainer that I also love this. So then this is where the last 2 books come in. So I said the top 10, but she couldn't pick between these 2, so I'm going to talk about both of them. So we have November 9th and Losing Hope by Colleen Hoover. Start with November 9th because I've talked about it more. We know that this is actually one of my favorite Colleen Hoover books. A lot of people like to roast me on that, but it was just the feeling that I had when reading this book. I read this in one of my first book videos that I ever made on this channel. Like, that also holds a special place for me, and it was just the fact that I remember how I felt reading this book, and I will always stick with that, and how giddy I felt and how much I loved it, and I loved the premise and just the emotions that I went through with this book. I know that this holds a very special place in my heart. But with Losing Hope, so this is a part of the Hopeless series. So you read Hopeless and then you read Losing Hope, which is the guy's point of view from he is the love interest in Hopeless, and you get his point of view in this book and kind of like recounts. And the thing is that I really loved this book. It didn't feel like, I was kind of whatever to read this book, because I was like, okay, I don't really want like a repeat of what Hopeless was, but just like in his point of view. And while you did have moments where I was like, okay, this just feels like very repetitive, I love this book because it gave so much more insight into who he is and stuff like in the past and stuff like that that is important to the story. This is a 4.5 stars for me. I love the Hopeless book, like little kind of thing that she had going on, is actually one of my favorite Colleen Hoover books. These are all of the books that I talked about in today's video. These are all of Sarah's favorite books. If you guys want to go read them and tell me and tell Sarah how you feel about them, go ahead. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Sarah, love you, bestie. Thank you for always being a positive light and being such a light here on this fellow booktube stratosphere. Thank you, and thank you for all of these great recs that not just me, but so many other people appreciate. And I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I hope you guys are enjoying BOOKMAS, and I will see you guys when I see ya. Peace.